Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another Dylan Kolstad podcast show. And today I'm speaking to Nadia El-Tawil. Nadia, I am so excited to be speaking to you because you are just an absolute powerhouse of knowledge in business growth, business optimization, taking businesses to another level. And I just know you've got a lot of insights for us. So thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here today.
So let's jump in with an introduction from you. Do you want to just imagine nobody knows who you are, and we meet you for the first time in the elevator? Give us your very quick elevator pitch, and then I'll ask you for more, and then you can give me your extended elevator pitch. So let's start with your elevator pitch.
Sure. So my name's Nadia, and I guess the first thing you could say about me in an elevator pitch is what do I do? So I work in finance, predominantly private equity, and we're trying to find a way to make a change through, investments, a positive impact on the communities that we operate in. So I guess you could say that my job is actually to identify opportunities across Africa. We're a Pan-African investment firm, and to find ways to help grow these businesses and to build like regional African champions. And this is just like a part of me. And I feel like this philosophy carries on throughout my entire life, that I just really want to give back and do more and help people across the continent, both on, business and professional things, as well as like in my personal life. I think
Yeah.
that could be my outfit.
I think that's a good one because you combined, like, this is actually who you are as a person. You like to help people. You like to have do things that have an impact, not just, financially, but actually like community upliftment um, and actually impacting the whole of Africa. And that's kind of who you are as a person, because I think having spoken to you before, I mean, you're kind and you like to share your knowledge and you just love what you do. I think it's just comes
Yeah,
from
really
inside, am
enjoy
I
it.
right? It's
Yeah, I
very,
know. I really enjoy what I do, and I really feel like I like giving back, talking to people, understanding people's like issues, difficulties, seeing how we can work together, collaborate, like think out of the box kind of thing. And I just feel like, if we're ever gonna like move forward, it has to be like with our communities and with the people around us. It's not like a one man show kind of thing.
so, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time because you're a lot older than you look. Or at least you started working when you were 15, but you just got
Yeah,
like
like
so much
10.
experience. I think I think a lot of people when they meet you, they may misjudge you. Am I right?
Yes, that you are right. I don't know if I want to reveal my real age, but no, yeah, I think I'm fortunate enough to look maybe a bit younger than I am. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've been working in finance for around 15 years now. So quite a while.
You started when you
Uh,
were 15, right?
I
You
started when I was 15,
you
10 actually.
10.
That's funny.
Exactly. Yeah, well, and now because you've done this for a long time, your previous role, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't so much impact focused, right? Your
So
previous
I,
role was
I've worked in private equity. I think, yeah, it was also in private equity. I was working on predominantly the Egyptian market. And we were looking for, it was very exciting because it was more like transformation. So we would
ah,
find a company, let's say in Egypt, that is doing very, very poorly. We would acquire the company, 100% of the company almost, and we would really like turn it around and like turn it into a champion or a market leader in its area. So I think that was extremely satisfying in the sense that it's kind of this philosophy of finding the diamond in the dirt, because 100 people could look at a company and say like, well, it's performing really badly, like why would I even like buy this company or acquire it, and then actually being able to see beyond that. And then it was also really exciting because when you have, you're starting from like point zero and you know where you want to end up, you want to like build a market leader. So it's kind of like beginning with the end in mind, like this is where I want to get and how am I going to get there? So it's a very fulfilling and exciting role that we got the opportunity to work on different sectors, different industries, different companies, and to really be able to say, like, when we acquired this company, it was, loss making and stuff, and today it's a listed entity on the stock market. Like to know that this was your work, your efforts, your ideas, that made this happen.
Wow.
My role today, like, I think is quite exciting for me as well. So since I joined African Invest, is one of the largest, and it's the oldest almost. It was established back in 1994 in Tunisia. And it's a Pan-African investment platform. And so I think for me, this has been really interesting because it was the first time that I was like exposed to the African continent, as a whole. And getting the chance to work with over 110 colleagues across Africa. We have offices in Cairo, in Nigeria, Kenya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, just to name a few. So it's been very interesting for me to, see the similarities between these different countries in Africa, and also the differences between us. And I'm really enjoying the fact that African Invest is very impact focused as well. So it's not just, a matter of making an investment into a company, but it's also like bettering this company and the community around this company. So I do feel like this is, very close to my personal values. So I'm very happy and like fortunate to have a job where both, my professional values and my personal values are kind of like merged together.
I think that's incredible. I think that like you've had such a great opportunity in your life to work in two very similar spaces, but I think it must be really, like you said, rewarding to be doing what you're doing now because it's more than just business transformation. So am I right in saying you specifically looking for businesses that have community impact? So your focus isn't so much on the commercial turnaround, or is it the commercial turnaround of community impact businesses or business?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both actually, which is exciting. So, when we look at an opportunity, we obviously assess the opportunity, do our due diligence and all of that. And then obviously we have, as finance professionals, we have the financial metrics that we want to achieve, the returns we want to achieve and all of that. But we also have an in-house impact and sustainability team that works alongside us. So one of the key things we also look at and assess is, the ESG principles, how the company is, performing on the ESG and the SDGs and stuff in that impact world. And, what changes we need to make in the company, to better, the company itself in that specific area. And then second of all, we have very clear KPIs as well on the impact side that we want to achieve. And we generally do something called like a value creation plan. So this value creation plan has the commercial and the business aspects and the things we want to like achieve on the really business side. But we also have the value creation plan on the very nice to be able to like merge together both the financial returns, like KPIs with the impact returns and KPIs as well.
I love it. So, what have you found, like, in your years of experience, is there like a common denominator that most of the companies that you've started to become involved with have displayed? Like, let's say the founder is controlling, or the founder or the board is ineffective, or like, is there some, just like the first thing that you look at when you come in and like a common thing that you see, maybe a mindset or something?
Yeah, I think a lot of the companies, maybe in Africa that we see and stuff started off maybe as family businesses. So one of maybe the most recurring themes we see a lot of the time is, a founder, part of a family, started a company, and it kind of like grew and it grew and did very, very, or she did very, very well for herself, did really well. And in a sense, the business like outgrew them. And they haven't really like institutionalized. But yet the company is like fairly large. And then we do see a lot of legacy issues as well, where like, maybe the the father founded the company or the grandfather, and then the father took it, and now the kids don't want to be involved in the business. So I think one of the most common pain points we feel and we see is companies that haven't really like institutionalized yet, but they've grown so significantly that it's kind of impacting their growth now. And I completely understand it. Like, when you see all of us and me get an idea and you start a business, and if it was supposed to like completely like take off and it takes off, you might not necessarily have like hired a very strong management team around you. You might be a one-man, show kind of thing. You might, have been so focused on performing really well in your market that you haven't really started to think of looking, around you at neighboring countries and expansion. And I think this is one of the key things that we often help in, is that we really can help founders institutionalize their business, put in proper governance metrics. We can help with financial restructuring. We can help with like expansion. There's so much, added benefit sometimes of getting someone, outside of the day-to-day business, like maybe you're great at running your company, but you need someone, to help with the other pillars of the company.
So you use the word institutionalized. So what does that mean for you?
So institutionalized for me means sometimes it can be putting in a proper organization structure, hiring key management positions and key roles that you need. It could be having proper policies and procedures. Like at the end of the day, you need to, if you want your business to grow, you need to have processes and stuff in place. If governance is really, really important, because a lot of, family businesses and stuff, they don't necessarily have a board that they report to or anything. So it'd be like, having that board in place, having governance, having the right committees, whether it's an audit committee or remuneration committee. So I think all of these are kind of key when it comes to wanting to take your business to the next level. And that could be sometimes, if you grow your company into a market leader in one country, you could be opening yourself to acquisition by a multinational, by, a regional player. And one of the first things, these companies would look at is that you generally want a smooth, transition and transaction. So you want to be buying an institutionalized business, versus a business that is purely relying on one person, because what happens if this person is no longer there.
And so how often do you find that the entrepreneur resists you? Because sometimes, entrepreneurs suffer from, what is it called? Entrepreneur disease or something.
Yeah,
they don't want to, founders, I don't know, they just don't want to let go, and they want to be the hero. And I mean, I know, because I'm an entrepreneur myself, so it is hard to step down and hand over the reins. And what do you do when you come across someone like that? Is that then a deal breaker and you walk away?
So it's a very fair question, and it's a very good question, actually. And just like to address that, like African Best, through our investment, we primarily, like, our DNA is to do minority transactions, which would mean that we come in as a minority shareholder. Obviously, we can do majority transactions in some situations, but you could say our preference would be on minority, which means that the founder or the CEO, the current owners of the company are the majority shareholders, and then we have very, limited rights, and any rights we have would be maybe contractually, as in reserved matters in the contracts and our shareholders agreement and stuff. So one of the key things is, from early on, is being aligned with the founder or the sponsor, the owner of the company, understanding from them, why they want a partner, where they want to go with the business, being aligned in the future vision of the business, and agreeing on this value creation plan. So to answer your question, if from day one, the sponsor is just like, well, I just need the money, but I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the way I'm running my company, and all of that, then they're most likely not the partner for us. It's really, really important for us to be aligned with the sponsors and the founders of the companies, to align on a vision, targets, know where we want to go, align on this value creation plan, and to have a partner that really values, our added experience and our added knowledge, And then that's the way we're going to formulate that partnership going forward and be able to bring the company to the next level.
I
So
think
yeah,
so it's
very
quite different to what
important.
it's quite different to what I had in mind. I had in mind something slightly more bullying, where you come in and it's like, okay, this is the way it's got to be, and you must come with. But actually, what you're saying is so much more supportive and humble and collaborative. And it's like, can we understand what you want? And then it's like, actually, that's what we want too, and we can really help you get there, as opposed to, here we have this plan, so I can. I
No,
love it.
it's a partnership. So we actually
Yeah.
work on the plan together. Like we work on a good 3 to 5 year plan together. We align on where we want to see the business grow, and we don't have the desire to get involved in the day-to-day operations of the business, like run your business. But at the same time, I think it's more alignment on the strategic vision, strategic initiatives, and offering our support where it's needed.
Yeah.
So if you have a stellar export team and you're doing fantastic and you're, already exporting 99% of your revenues are coming from export, and you don't feel like you need to leverage off of our network for that, then that's 100% fine, right? But I think what we realize, and it's maybe not communicated enough, in our line of business, that ultimately this is a partnership. It's a relationship. So we really value the people we work with, and we try to, always invest with founders and sponsors that we feel are aligned with us, in terms of values, in terms of, dreams, goals, and aspirations for their business as well.
I think that's lovely. I really think that's awesome. And it makes sense because I've heard, I often state, and I'm sure it's changed, but in South Africa, I encountered VCs in the past who, took so much equity from the shareholder and the founder that eventually the founder, whose baby and vision this is, barely held any stakes in the company anymore. And then, you sort of lose the fire in your belly. And then once you've lost the founder, the whole company just goes down, because to a large extent, they had the passion and the fire. So I love it that you also say that you take a minority shareholding, which to
But
me
I just wanted to, go back on your point as well about, founders, and I think this is the mistake a lot of, especially now in the VC scene and with startups, that you get into this whole oh, I'm fundraising, I'm getting money, you're changing your cap table, your ownership stake is going, lower and lower. And I think a lot of founders, and especially first-time founders, sometimes forget that you need to really know, why are you fundraising and why am I bringing these people on board? Because I think fundraising in itself, if you want $1 million, you will find someone to give you $1 million, right? You'll find it. But the way to approach it is to be okay, if Nadia gives me the $1 million, she can offer me the 1, 2, 3, 4 things, out of strategic guidance and help, and this is what I really need. Versus, if Dylan gives it to actually not think beyond the money when you're looking at your cap table, and try to get partners on board with you that you think will help you achieve, your goal, versus just saying yes to anyone that will give you, the money you're fundraising for it.
That's interesting, because it's kind of like when you're looking for a job, and then you just I could do this job, I could do this job. And so you're putting yourself forward for jobs that aren't really a fit for you, and you're not interviewing the company for a good fit, because there's nothing worse than getting a job and actually not being a good fit for the company. And it's not your fault, it's not their fault. It's actually just, and then everybody's miserable and they think you're useless, and you start doubting yourself. So I think that's very, very important that you actually really choose your investment partners as well. Quite, like you mentioned, your networks that you have and contacts that you have, and and how you can actually leverage the people that and the relationships that you have for the company. So I suppose that's something that should be high on the list of criteria when choosing investment partners.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you.
You mentioned a word called the value creation plan. Is this actually like a plan that you have that you share with them, like a 10-step plan, or is there actually is it actually like a document, or is it just kind of like an idea?
Yes.
What is it?
No, it is a dog. So I think, and it goes back to, what I said before about beginning with the end in mind, which is like super important. So usually what it is, it's like we're all aware on where the business is today, and we kind of know where we want to take the business, in the next, 5 years, 3 years, and whatnot. So the value creation plan is generally like broken down into different segments. So it would have things, from on finance, commercial, ESG and stuff, where the areas for improvement are, and what the goals are. And then, the different like strategic initiatives under that of how we will achieve that. And this is something that's really important. It's a working document that we work on extensively with the founders of the company to just like be aligned on the strategic initiatives that we want to take in order to see the growth or drive the growth that we would like to see in the business. And then this serves as a good tool because I think, and this is true of anything you do, you need to be measuring, progress against something, and something more than just like, the numerical thing. So let's say if the value creation plan included like, generating revenues through different, revenue sources. So not only when I get the financials and am I looking at the revenue, I'm going to want to like dig a bit deeper and see like, where did we generate these revenues from? Are they actually across the different channels that we had identified, or are we still like predominantly generating revenue from one area? If there was, let's say one of the, steps was increase the export market, then this becomes something like a bit on like this balanced scorecard matrix that you're actually tracking. Are we getting new export partners? Are export revenues increasing? So yes, to answer your question, it is a written document that we have it printed and everything, and that all team members are fully aligned on.
Amazing. I think that's it makes a lot of sense, I think. So talk to me about your approach to the Kaizen philosophy. So what do you want to summarize that for us?
I mean, Kaizen at the end of the day is like continuous improvement. And I think this is something that is like important across, both the professional and personal world. The world's not static. We're not static. There's constant, innovations and knowledge and information and experiences and stuff. So keeping, the principle of Kaizen in mind is always that you can always get 1% better. You can constantly like improve, and like just that these little micro steps, those little daily improvements actually lead to massive results. They just keep compounding into a very significant impact in the future. And I kind of believe that like this is a very important philosophy for both like individuals and businesses to live by actually, and to not only think of like the big picture, or to think like we're perfect now, we're doing great, numbers are great, I don't need to change anything, because there is always that little micro action that you can take that will generate a significant improvement in the long run.
I think that is so valuable. We only recently this year did I start writing down our monthly wins, because I wasn't tracking it before. And we've made so many improvements since last year. Every single month, the business gets a little bit better, a little bit more efficient. We find another hole in the bucket that we plug. And, but if you don't write it down, you don't actually realize how far you've come and how much you've done and how massive these wins are. And some of these holes were big holes in the bucket that you only just discovered the other day. And so I love that, it's articulated so beautifully. And, the Kaizen principle that it's not always big. It's sometimes just a small thing.
Something super small, exactly. And then like it kind of also like reminds you that you're not static, right? Like you could be the number one in the world today at something, but you can still get better. There's still an area for improvement. There's still, and when you live by that philosophy, I think you get a lot of inspiration from things around you. Like you have this open, maybe receptor on your brain. So you're like looking, and then you'd be able to see, well, wait, our competitor did this, and you look into it. And like, so I think it just gives you maybe also that excitement to like continue going forward and growing.
Yeah, I think that's what makes great companies so great is they don't just sit on their laurels. I was watching the BlackBerry. I'm always fascinated by the BlackBerry story because I
Yeah.
loved my BlackBerry. I loved it so much. But everyone just switched like this
Open
to
eye.
iPhone. If they just and BlackBerry, they were like, no, but everybody loves the click. It's so satisfying, the keyboard, and they were like so obsessed with their keyboard, and everybody just like tanked the keyboard in one go. Like they just lost instantly, and I think that's what they got stuck on. We're good at this. This is our thing, as opposed to thinking, what is actually the next thing? Always, what's the next thing? So,
I agree
you know, and
completely. Yeah, like 100%. And there's a lot of companies like, I mean, Nokia was a rubber manufacturer before they went into like cell phones, right? Like, so you have
yeah.
a lot of like examples of companies that managed to like pivot, and companies that were really, held on really, really strong to like one way of doing business or one idea. And then ultimately it did lead to their decline. And then like just going back to that, when you have continuous improvement, if let's say the people in your company are also living by this philosophy, then all of your employees are also developing, personally. Like if I wake up every day and I'm like, what can I do to be like a little bit better? And I'm continuously like improving myself. I'm obviously subsequently like, improving my performance as an employee in my company. So it's also just like these micro actions that kind of, and when everyone in an organization is like living by this philosophy, I feel like the impact from this organization would be extreme.
I think it's really, really key that I think that's something, to try and awaken in people, but also to find people in whom that is already in existence. And I think it also shows in your personal life. Yeah, I know that when I'm feeling out of control, it's easy to just ignore the dishes in the sink and not make up my bed and not put my shoes away. But the minute I at home am tidy and organize everything, and my personal life is, even though I don't feel like it, the minute I like make my bed and tidy my room, I feel so much better. It's about going for that walk even though you're tired, or doing gym even though you don't want to. And I think at the end of the day, yeah, it's the same in your corporate life.
Yeah, like 100%. Like it's so funny that you mentioned that. Like on my run today, I was listening to a podcast, and the guy was actually saying he lives by a philosophy called +1. So it's like if you're gonna run for 20 minutes, run for 20 plus 1 minute.
Oh wow.
So it was in his philosophy, like whatever it is you were gonna do or whatever your like goal was or whatever, and he called it the +1, where you just do that one, like not like so it's not a pain point because it's just 1 extra minute or 1 extra page, 1 extra whatever. But he's like, but then you're like constantly like bettering yourself.
Yeah. It becomes this virtuous circle. So I am someone who naturally, discipline doesn't come naturally to me. Like pleasure seeking comes naturally to me. And so for me, like practicing piano, because I started piano as a late in life, only like a few, like 2-3 years ago did I start piano. And
Oh, that's so inspiring. That's so nice.
I know, because I was always like, I could always play just like 2 songs, and I wanted to be able to play. And then I was like, oh no, but I'm too old, at 25, oh, I'm too old now to learn piano. And then at 30, and then at 35, oh no, I'm too old. Anyway, so I literally was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And so initially it's this schlep of practice, but then you can play a song and you can play it well, and then you play it more, and then you play it really well. And the satisfaction of doing that, it's like running that first 1 kilometer if you haven't run in a year. And then that second, it's like the worst thing, but eventually you can do the 1, and then you can do the 2, you push it to the 2, and then it becomes enjoyable.
But that goes back to self-disruption, right?
Yeah.
Where you push yourself to do something outside your comfort zone, and you stick to it and you do it, and then you start getting the reward mechanisms from it, and then suddenly it's like you're saying, I could say a song and
exactly
play
it.
a tool.
So this,
I know if I'm hard, I'm so good at it now, and then you start feeling this like sense of reward and
yes,
positivity versus when you
yes,
first started, you were uncomfortable and it was outside your comfort zone, and you're like, I'm not good at this, and maybe you're embarrassed and you're not telling people you're taking piano classes, versus then you're like
exactly.
more confident because it's some joy actually.
Exactly. That's why I think the word discipline is a terrible word. It should be rewardism, because but you discipline just focuses on the negative, like the sacrifice, and it doesn't actually, there's nothing in the word to make you realize that the beginning of the word is painful, but the end of the word is like absolute joy, amazingness, like I can now
I
play
100% agree
songs
with.
that I have dreamed of playing my
No
entire life.
way,
I can
that's
play them.
amazing.
I
Oh,
know.
that's
So
so nice
yeah,
to hear.
I
Well, I mean,
I
I think you
completely get that.
bust out the piano and start playing these songs for me.
I should do it. I love it now. It's so amazing, and I completely
Oh,
get that. So
awesome.
I love working that whole thing into like a philosophy that underpins the company and our staff and guys reminded, just do one thing better today, just do 1 minute more, or one thing more, or like, can you push yourself a little bit more? Like, learn one thing today. Like, what did you not
I think,
know
and
that you
it's a
just,
very fair thing. Like, obviously, we all gravitate towards things we're good at or we feel confident doing, right? So, if you're really good at doing something in your job, you want to be doing more of that and less of what you feel uncomfortable doing or you feel like you're not the best at. So,
yeah,
if you'll never develop in the area that you think is your weakness unless you accept that you're going to be uncomfortable, that you're going to feel
that's
bad,
true.
that, I'm not going to be good at it. I'm going to make a mistake. I need to
Mm,
accept that feeling, push myself, to get to do it. And then
yeah,
maybe if I have maybe helpful colleagues or a manager that, is a good mentor or whatever, then that person can actually guide you and help you until you become good at it, like you've gotten good at piano and it becomes an area that you're comfortable doing. But if you
mm,
just stick to what you're naturally good at and what you're comfortable doing, you'll never, fully develop in the areas, and you could end up having a weakness for like the rest of your life. And there was no need for it to be a weakness. You just needed,
it's
like
so
for one
true.
month to spend extra time messing up, making mistakes in this one area, until you were going to be comfortable with it in the future.
I think that's amazing. I think it's about allowing yourself a period of learning, and it's knowing that you're going to maybe suck in the beginning, and it's okay. It's part of the learning. And then eventually it gets better and more comfortable. It's like when I lived in Australia, I've often said the example, I was terrified of driving because they have these trams, and I was scared of actually driving the first time in my little car. And then I said to myself, it's only new once, it's only new once. And so now I've often used this model like a few times to myself. So it's only new the first time. Just get the first
Yeah.
time behind you, like that public speaking that you hate. Like one of my staff members,
Yeah.
Annette, she was terrified of public speaking, and now she's like our spokesperson. She gives all the talks, and she's absolutely just grown into it, and she's doing such a great job of it. So I think that's the
But
thing. It's
it's a
like
great thing though. Like I find public speaking super hard.
yeah.
I'm not very comfortable doing it. So I took an improv class,
Mhm.
actually. Um, and it was weird. Like I mean, it was very outside my comfort zone. It was like a 3-day workshop over the weekend and stuff. It was really, really difficult. But I just kind of felt like I can go on for the rest of my life and say, oh, I suck at public speaking. I'm not comfortable. I don't like public speaking. Or I can actually do something about it. I might
Wow.
not be a natural. I might, it might not be my preferred thing to do and stuff, but at least like I'm trying to get better at it.
Wow.
Because I just think that you're terrible at something and not doing it is really not going to like yield any results.
No, I completely agree. So, so what would you like to close with? So, what is your closing message to our entrepreneur founders out there? What is the parting thought you want to leave them with?
I I would want to tell them like, good job on getting where you are today, on, having an idea and like acting upon that idea. I mean, so many of us have ideas for businesses and things, and we just never like take action. So, I mean, that's like a massive pat on the back for that. And then I would say, like, when you're thinking of like your growth, I think you just really need to hone in on your strategy, where you want to go, and why you want to go there, right? So it has to be, not because other people are doing it and stuff, as much as it is like, something intrinsic that you feel like this is where you want to go. I would say, it's natural, to feel like you can do things on your own and do things alone, and you do things better than other people. But I would say it's really important to get the right partners on board at the right time. And goes back to what I was telling you before about, when you're fundraising and stuff, it's about a lot more than the money. It's the added value of having a good partner with you and someone that could help you accomplish the vision you have in mind. So I would definitely tell, founders, just, when you're at the fundraising stage, when you've identified where you want to go, why you're fundraising, it's very important to not just fall into the trap of, fundraising for the sake of it. You need to know, like, what, I need this amount of money to take me there because this is where I want to go. And you can help me get there. To just get the right partners on board with you. And then I think that's where the magic happens. Like, this is where, when you build a good team and you have good, whether it's, your organization team, your management team is really good and your employees are really good, and then your partners on the shareholding level, you're also really aligned. I think this is like a great sweet spot to be in, and can really help businesses accomplish and reach like the next stage of their growth.
Amazing. Thank you, Nadia. And if companies want to reach out to you, what kind of companies are you specifically looking for that can reach out to you if they're looking for investment?
So it's actually great. African Invest is an investment platform, which means we have a large family of funds. So we, do everything from, investments in SME companies, VCs, and mid-cap, large-cap private equity. So we're able actually to invest in a broad spectrum of companies. So I would encourage, people to reach out to us. And I think this could be done online through our website, through LinkedIn. We are a very cohesive team, so anyone you reach out to will definitely pass it along to the right person.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nadia. You've been an absolute font of knowledge and wisdom. Thank you for sharing that with us today.
Oh, amazing. And thank you so
much. You're amazing. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to our listeners. And guys, you can reach out via all the links in the description below. And thanks for the listen and for the follow. Have a great day.